Hello, my name is Caitlin Dial. I am the Assistant Director of the Meis Student Development Center, and today I am going to talk to you all about the importance of note-taking skills and good study habits. These are things that are going to stick with you throughout your collegiate career, and note-taking, surprisingly enough, is something that will have an effect on you in your professional career as well. Okay, so introduction. Everyone knows that studying is important. However, no students are ever typically taught, as a rule, on how to actually study. So it tends to be easier said than done. So we're going to talk a little bit today about how to actually practice those study habits, how to get good at studying. Another important thing to remember, I know this has all been said before, but preparing for class and studying are going to be the key to you doing well in your courses. And another thing to keep in mind is that everyone will learn differently. So just because that's a method that's working for your best friend or your roommate or whoever doesn't mean that's going to necessarily work for you as well. So day to day in your classes, what are some things to help you succeed? Well, the first one is going to be to take excellent notes. Note-taking is something that I think faculty are now considering a lost art, a dead skill maybe, which that shouldn't be the case. You're not going to be able to remember every single thing that your professor says each and every day of class. I take notes at every single meeting that I'm in, and all of the most successful people that I know also take notes every day. Lots of them carry around a teeny tiny little notebook with them, so they're always writing stuff down. And those are the people that I tend to find are the most successful. So get good at taking notes now, and it will last you a lifetime. Find a system that works for you. When I was a grad student and an undergrad student, I used a binder system. So I would get a binder of loose leaf paper. I would hole punch my syllabus and all of my assignments and all sorts of things. I'd put a folder in it. I'd have a separate binder for each course. Maybe you have a notebook, maybe you use folders, or maybe you just have a technology where you download your PowerPoints and type in the notes section of your PowerPoint slides. Regardless of what system you use, you just need to have a system. We've all been in class next to that student, and they're like, there's a page of math notes, and then there's their English notes, and then there's something else entirely. So, when they sit down to actually study, it's going to take them an hour or more to just get settled and organized. So make sure you have a system in place. Make sure your notes are legible, organized, and dated. I was guilty of having not the nicest and easiest to read notes around, but as long as you're able to read them, that's all that matters. Take your time and have some kind of system organization to how you're lining out your notes, and then write the day of the class. That way you can keep track of what was covered when. When you're taking notes, there's no need to write down every single thing that your professor's saying. You just need to make sure that you're getting the key points, have an outline. However, it's very, very hard to keep track of what's happening in class if you haven't effectively prepared for class. So that's something else that's very, very important. Your shorthand needs to make sense to you, so abbreviate things. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe you're going to abbreviate business as BUS. Your abbreviations just have to make sense to you. And then I know it seems so silly, but reading the chapter ahead of time and seeing those terms and things are going to help you be more prepared when you're actually in class. Wrong way. So again, like I said, don't try to get every word. You've all probably had some faculty members or professors in high school or college that tend to jump around. As a diligent note taker myself, this used to drive me crazy because I wanted everything to be in order, and I wanted to be able to go back and look at my notes and have things make sense to me. So if you leave a lot of white space, that'll help make that much easier to jump back and forth and keep everything in order. I've talked about all of the ways, well, some of the ways you can take notes, but I'm guessing some of you are probably still thinking like, is this important? Well, It is actually very important because just because the topic is making sense in class does not mean that when you go to sit down, wherever you're sitting to study, which we'll talk about that in a bit, doesn't mean that it will continue to make sense then as well. So you may be super, super smart, but I personally don't remember every single thing that's said to me on a daily basis. So note taking really helps me in meetings remember what I need to do afterwards and what was talked about. They're going to be your number one study tool. Notes are super, super helpful when it comes to studying. And honestly, you're going to be learning and retaining the information while you're taking those notes in class. So it's going to keep you awake. First of all, sometimes those 8 a.m. classes or those 4:40 or 3:30 classes can be really hard to stay engaged for. So taking notes will help you stay engaged in class as well as help you actually learn the material. Some other tips and things to keep in mind on the day-to-day basis while you're in class is to be involved in class. I know, people, this is crazy, revolutionary information, but it all is very important and very true and a key to success. Being involved in class by not just sitting there and absorbing the lecture, you're going to impress your faculty. They're going to learn your name, who you are, and you're going to get more out of the lecture. So ask questions, talk, be prepped and ready to go while you're there. Don't just stare with your head down saying, oh God, please don't look at me, please don't talk to me. I don't know what she's talking about. You're not getting anything out of your collegiate experience or your coursework that way. And a fun fact I learned while creating this presentation was that there is retention rate can actually be increased by 60% if you review your notes every day within 24 hours. So you're thinking like, oh, Caitlin, I don't have time. There's no hours in the day. I don't know when I'm going to do that. Please don't make me. Well, not true. If you could cut down your study have time by 60%, why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that? So remember, there are times when you can review your notes, such as the waiting time. Using that time before and after one class or the other when you're a little early for one class or you're waiting for everyone else to get settled. Use that waiting time wisely. I know we all currently just use waiting time to scroll through your phone or check up on social media, but that time can be used to review your notes, which is going to increase your retention rate by up to 60%. So make sure you are doing that. Getting organized. Oh my goodness, if I could have $1 for every time that I was saved by my Outlook calendar or my to-do list, I'd be a rich woman. But having some kind of method to organize your time is going to be key. I'm sure you're all thinking right now, like, girl, you're crazy. I have so much free time. Like, things are really slow in my classes. I'm getting involved on campus. Like, all this free time. I'm watching some new Netflix shows, what have you. Well, you're not super busy right now because you're a freshman in college. It's going to only continue to get more and more hectic as you go from your freshman year to your senior year. So you're going to need to get a good method in place in order to keep on top of all of it. There are planner people, there are to-do list people, there are calendar people. Find different methods, try some stuff, and figure out what's going to work best for you. Find a way to organize that time. It's going to be super, super helpful. I personally live and die by my to-do list. Recording this presentation is actually something I can't wait to check off of my to-do list. So I am a big advocate of that. I wanted to be a planner person. I've seen those girls that have those beautiful planners with all these stickers and colored pins. I'm like, oh, I want that to be me. But I buy a planner, I write in it for 2 weeks, and then I don't keep up with it. So I use a method of my to-do list and my Outlook calendar to keep appointments and meetings and things of that nature. There'll be another boot camp where we talk a little bit more about using your Outlook calendar. But you're just going to need something in some way to keep things on schedule. Another thing to help you when you're getting ready to study or work on things is to have a clean workspace. I know if I'm trying to do my work here, or if you're trying to do your homework or start studying, sometimes you feel really overwhelmed. The hardest part is just getting started. So if I'm trying to do something at work and having a roadblock or mental block, I'll take 10 minutes, clean my office, and I always feel so much better after it's done. It's a really good way to check that first thing off your list. Use folders to keep everything together. Don't throw away old assignments, and keep your syllabi. Your faculty are going to tell you over and over and over the information's in your syllabi. And you may feel like that's annoying, or can't they just tell you? Come on. But when you get jobs in the real world, your boss is only going to tell you things so many times. So if you're not able to keep track of how to answer your own questions, at this age, it's not going to be something that is effective for you as it will be when you graduate. So keep your syllabi, be able to answer some of your own questions. That is going to be very helpful. So another question, when is a good time to study? Well, that is going to be something that is completely different for each person. However, I can guarantee that the best time to study is not the night before the exam. You do not want to wait till that very last minute to start studying for your exam. Maybe you'll do well the first couple times, but cramming really never is the best option. Also, don't plan on marathon study sessions. You'll learn more if you'll remember more if you learn gradually. So don't plan for those 8-hour study sessions. You're going to hate yourself. Your brain's going to turn to mush, and you're going to be so sad that you're not going to remember things as well. So start studying early and break it down to smaller pieces instead of those big chunks to work on. Especially when it comes, you'll get your first midterm and finals experience here pretty soon. The semester will fly by. You'll have no idea how quickly it will go. But a good tip for that is to study the most difficult or, boring class first. Full disclosure, you're not going to have warm fuzzies and giddy about every single course that you take here in the college. You're going to have classes that you like much more than others. And some classes are going to be really challenging, and you may find some of the courses really boring, while the person next to you may think it's the coolest thing in the world. So pick what you like the least and start with that subject. You're going to be much happier that it's out of the way, and you'll have more energy left for things that you're actually interested in more. Finding your prime productivity hours. This is going to be key. When I was in grad school, my prime productivity hours were 9 p.m. to about 2 a.m. If I tried to do work now, oh, Lord child, there is no way I would be able to stay awake and work at those hours. Not happening. However, I also don't thrive off of 8 a.m. I find my prime, get in my groove, after I eat some breakfast, have some coffee, I work best from about 9 a.m. to about 2 p.m. Those are my really good, solid hours of knocking things out. Find what's going to work best for you, because maybe you're a morning person and you just thrive on getting up, starting your day early, and getting things done. Other people are night owls. Maybe they don't want to be up. Please don't wake me up before 11. Dear God, no. Or they want to work in the middle of the night. None of us care when those hours are for you, but you have to find that prime time for yourself. So test stuff out and see what works for you. Using your waiting time. We talked about this just a bit, but it's such a wasted time that people don't often think about. A professor here you'll hopefully get the pleasure to have is Professor Kim LaGrange. She was one of the people that I aspired to be like, because she is a very put together, organized person, and she is just delightful. One of the things that she's always recommended is a little catchphrase from Kim is that every minute counts. So I used to be like, only have 5 minutes, no time for that, better check the Insta. That's not necessarily the case. You can get a lot accomplished in 5 minutes. So remember that every minute counts. Use that waiting time wisely. You will be shocked at how much it adds up. You're not, of course, going to start writing a research paper in 5 minutes. You can catch up on your emails, or you can start rereading those notes from the last lecture, or do something of that nature that is going to help you use that waiting time to your advantage. The next question is, where in the world should I study? How? I don't know where. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Well, the where. There is no right or wrong answer. But I do recommend that you switch it up. Find a place that works best for you. I am the kind of person that likes there to be some residual noise around me. If it's too quiet and there's no one around, I think that I'm all alone and I get curious as to what others doing. Am I missing out on something fun? Where is everyone? So I prefer it to be a little louder, a little more people around, because then you have that positive peer pressure. Maybe you're at the library or in your office and you should be working, but instead you're on social media and you look over to the person next to you and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're working on their assignments. And then you just feel a little guilty, like, oh God, look at them being awesome. And it's going to help you probably stay back on track. However, there are some people that would rather just be so distracted if they were in a room with 15 other people trying to study. They would not get anything done. They would just be distracted. So find what works best for you. There are common areas. We have the Cunningham Memorial Library here on campus you can absolutely take advantage of. There are spaces in the College of Business that are open for studying. Common areas in your dorms, in your living room, where have you. Find different places and try to different things. Something that I was also guilty of as a grad student was getting too comfortable. I'm like, I'm just going to go sit in my bed and read my chapter. And then I would go in my bed and have my book on my lap, and I would fall asleep every time. Every time I would fall asleep, because sometimes, accounting isn't just super thrilling. So I would just be in my PJs and fall asleep. So don't get too comfortable. Your bed may not always be the best place to study because it's going to be very tempting to fall asleep. Set up some study groups to help keep you accountable. Make friends with the people in your classes. Get to know people. Who's your person sitting next to you? I know you're all sitting in the same place every day. So meet these people around you and set up some groups that say, hey, let's study on Friday or Thursday at 4 p.m. after class. Is everyone available? And try to find some time to work together to help keep yourself accountable and make sure you're really grasping that information. Excuse me. And again, just remember to find a place that works best for you. Try some different things out. See what your groove is, keep switching it up, and that's going to be super helpful on the where aspect of studying. So next, we will talk about the how and the how to study. It is completely 100% free game to ask your professors how the questions will be set up on the test. You're going to study for a math exam or an essay exam or a multiple choice exam, all very differently. So ask your professor. First, I suggest you check your syllabus to see if it's already listed, and if it's not, ask them. They will gladly tell you how to prep for it. If it's a multiple choice true false question and you're supposed to remember specific facts, flashcards. They work brilliantly. Try that method. If you're going to try to do some essay questions, you're going to need to learn how to compare and contrast and interpret the information. My favorite way to prep for a essay exam is to take a concept and then explain it to someone that has no idea what you're talking about and hope that they can kind of get a grasp of it at the end of it. If you can do that, you'll be good to go on your essay questions. And then applying principles and theories to solve problems. These are going to be more like mathematical questions, so you're going to study for those differently. I recommend that you don't just reread your notes. Maybe that worked for some. That never worked for me. I would get very bored and my mind would wander. So I would take my notes and rewrite them in my own words, or I would pretend like every single test that I had, I would get a one-page fact sheet. And sometimes you'll get to do that, but I would pretend like I would get to regardless, and I would create that summary fact sheet and use that to study. So I was condensing my notes and picking the high points, looking at the chapter to see what things are most important. And your professors, if you're taking diligent notes in class, will just naturally emphasize the things they want you to know. They will repeat things more than once if it is very important. They will follow back up on it. So if your professors mention the topic more than once, there's a pretty great chance you will be tested on that topic. Practice what you'll be doing on your test. So if you're studying for an accounting test, I've had students in my office and they're like, yeah, I really have been studying for my accounting. I read through my notes. It makes sense when I read through it, but when I go to work the problems, I have issues. And I'm like, well, yeah, no wonder you're not doing super well on the test, because for tests, you're going to have to be actually solving accounting problems. So practice what you'll be doing on the test. It's very simple in theory, but students surprisingly don't always do that. So practice what you'll be doing on the test. If it's essays, practice writing your essays. If it's math, practice the homework questions. And there's always answers in the back of your textbook. And there are tons and tons of resources out there. I know a lot of textbooks have, or courses have, extra auxiliary materials that go with them. They have practice tests. There are practice tests all over. So, and even ask your faculty members for practice tests. The worst they're going to say is no. So take practice tests, practice doing what you'll be doing. It will help. I swear, I promise you, it will help. So, taking the exam. You all live in Terre Haute. Well, not all of you. I have some distance students. But a large majority of you will be taking tests in person, and you probably live in Terre Haute. And if that's the case, you understand what it is like to be trained in Terre Haute, and giving you a ton of anxiety because you have only 5 minutes left to get to class and you're stuck in a train on Wabash, and oh goodness, what are you going to do? You have so much anxiety. Well, especially on test days, a plan to arrive significantly early just so you avoid any of those unnecessary pre-test stressors. Preview the entire test before starting so you know what to expect. You need to know at the end if there's 10 multiple or 10 essay questions. You need to allow yourself time to take care of those. Read all the instructions. You'd be surprised how often students miss points on assignments or tests just because they lack reading the instruction portion. Manage your time. It would always give me, as another test taker, so much anxiety if I was taking a test next to someone and they were taking forever. And I'm like, I'm almost done, and they haven't even turned a page, and I would have so much anxiety for them. Because what if you don't always have an unlimited amount of time to take a test? So manage that test time wisely. If you don't know a question, mark it, move on, come back. Again, should go without saying, but students leave stuff blank on tests all the time. Answer every single question, even if it requires a guess. The math question, try it, get partial points. A lot of your faculty members are going to do that. And then I was a very big guilty person of overthinking true-false questions. I'd be like, oh, well, they're trying to trick me. There's no way it could be this easy. And then I would psych myself out and miss a question. So reading things as is, don't overthink it. Your professors aren't trying to trick you. They're just trying to see what you know. So don't overthink it. Don't stress yourself out. Read the question as it is. So now we're going to talk about a little bit about how you can be more effective during that study time. So you're not really wasting your time, because I know we've all been there. So I use Google Chrome as my browser of choice, and I download multiple extensions, one of which is the Stay Focused extension. This allows you to block certain websites that are your typical time suck websites. So if you are spending a lot of time on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and that is a website that you are on your laptop using, or something of that nature, Netflix, Hulu, what have you, give yourself a time limit. This allows you to give a time limit. It can be as little as 10 minutes, as long as, 2 hours. Oh, excuse me. This will allow you to block certain websites. So if you extend you get through all the time, it'll pop up with a little box that says, shouldn't you be working? And it's really, really helpful because it keeps me on task while I'm at work. Sometimes it's really easy to get in a social media black hole, or I'm on Pinterest, or I'm doing something that isn't work related and I have things that need to get done. So these kinds of things is a little nudge you can use to help keep yourself accountable. Another fun tip, the Pomodoro Technique. This is something that's used to increase your focus. So it's really cool. It's a way to sit down and break, if you have an assignment or a test to study for that seems super, super overwhelming, like there's no way you can tackle this, can handle it. This is something that will help. It's a technique that allows you to break up the hour. So you're going to have 25 minutes of activity followed by a 5-minute break. And you do this for 4 cycles, and then you take a longer 20-minute break. You can use your timer on your phone. You can use the kitchen timer. There's also browser extensions or apps you can use to make this time method set up. But it's really going to be helpful when breaking down tasks, when getting through those large projects or those tests that seem like it's impossible. You'll get through little pieces at a time, and it'll help things seem much more manageable. Okay, so some overall tips and tricks. So something to keep in mind in my office or when I'm working, I keep my phone, if I really have something pressing, I keep it across the room from me. And I turn off my notifications because if my phone buzzes, there's 100% chance I'm going to check and see what it is. Like I'm human and that's something I'm going to do. Full disclosure, I'm going to check my phone. The same thing I'm guessing is going to happen for you. So if you're in class, keep your phone out of sight. Don't keep your phone on the table because if it buzzes, you're going to look at it. If you're really trying to study for this test and use the time you have wisely, don't keep your phone next to you. Also, we've all been 100% guilty. I was the worst. Even if I'm going home to work on something, I'm like, oh, let's work from home. And then I have the TV on and I watch TV and not actually get anything done. So if you count the number of hours you've spent studying while watching Netflix, which was basically just holding your book in your lap, you have to really think about how hard you're actually studying in those study hours. No judgment. We've all been there, but turning off some of the distractions will definitely help you get more things accomplished. Don't listen to familiar music. This is something that a lot of people recommend, to listen to something that there's a ton of study or focus playlists. I'm a Spotify user. I use Spotify, but I'm guessing they have them on Pandora as well. And those are just nice for some background noise. I personally don't like it too quiet when I'm working. It is extra distracting for me. They say chewing gum is helpful. Again, it will probably help you stay awake and it will help increase your focus. If you're by yourself, I 100% recommend reading things aloud. It's crazy how much you'll actually retain if you hear yourself talk about it and hear yourself talk through things. Getting enough sleep. I know you're in college and you're young and you're like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, but that's not true. You need your good night's sleep. At least before a test, you're going to do better if you've broken up your studying over multiple days and get at least minimum 6 to 7 hours of sleep before a test. I promise, I know I'm sounding old and crusty. The sleep is very important. It will help you actually remember and learn more. And then I was looking through articles when I was preparing this workshop, and they have a ton of those BuzzFeed articles where they have those pictures of textbooks with gummy bears on them. Like, gummy bear for each paragraph you read in your textbook, which is completely silly. But if that works for you, do it. Set up some kind of reward system. If you get 85% on the next exam, you are going to reward yourself by buying a new, for me, it would be some kind of makeup or skincare product. Reward systems are really great if you use them correctly. If you're going to cheat and buy the thing that you wanted to buy or go to the place you wanted to go without doing the work, then those won't be effective for you. But if you do, well, trust yourself to follow your set rules for yourself. They can be really motivating for some people, so that's something else worth considering. That is basically all I have in terms of note-taking and study habits. Some of it does seem like common sense, but I promise you, if you take advantage of these and work hard in your classes and do things the right way and put forth the effort, you will do well. There's also a link to take a quiz after this exam, so it should be under the video. You must get a 7 out of 10 to get credit for watching this video, so feel free to go if you don't feel like you caught enough through it the first time, feel free to listen again. But other than that, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, my name is Caitlin Dial. I'm located in the Meis Center. You can look my email up through the directory. I'm here to help students, so please let me know. Thank you so much.